number 5, which we have to make a macrocycle, and a macrocycle of 12 weeks, which is divided by two mesocycles. So how we did this macrocycle and based on what? This is based on a real case that I have. It's a 17-year-old boy who does karate, and next year he's going to compete with the adults. From the physical assessment that I did the other day, I realized that this boy is not strong enough. He does not have the structural balance, and he does not have the muscle mass to increase his strength. And you need to increase the muscle mass because he's going to fight with the adults. He cannot go with a few with little muscle mass. So what would be the desired goal for him in this case would be hypertrophy. We know hypertrophy is from 70 to 75, 78 to 80. In this case, we're going to be in hypertrophy per se. It's not we're not counting functional hypertrophy in this case, so that's why we took from 70 to 75%. That being said, we will start with the first block of the mesocycle, which is accumulation 1. When somebody has never done weights, you would not start in the base of the percentage of intensity that you want to develop. You have to lower that. And here's something interesting. 70%, we know that equals to 12 repetitions. You would need a difference from that. And how can you do that? You go to the first class and remember that 2 repetitions difference is equal to 3 to 5%. So if you pass from 12 repetitions to 14, that would be the desired repetition amount. So you have to lower that by 5%, and we start at 65% because you don't start at the base here. So we start at 65%. That means that is 12 to 14 repetitions. That sets would be 3 sets. That gives us a total of 42 repetitions. And the rule states that from accumulation to intensification, you increase the intensity from 8 to 15%. In this case, 8% would be 73% in the intensity, but we do not have 73%. So what I do, I put it on a lower intensity percentage, because that being said is new boy, and it's better to go slowly but surely increasing the intensity. That's why this is the first exception to the rule. And that would be 72%, which we know is 9 to 11 repetitions, 3 sets. That gives us a total amount of repetitions of 33, because from accumulation to intensification, you have to increase intensity, decrease the volume. And from accumulation to accumulation, you have to increase the intensity from 2% up to 8%. What we do here is that we increase it to 2%, and going back again to the first class, we remember that a difference of 1 repetition equals to 2% up to 3%. So 14 to 13, that's from 2 to 3%. It's 2% here. Difference from accumulation 1 to accumulation 2, which goes within the rule. But there's another rule that applies here, that from accumulation to accumulation, you have to increase the total volume. How we do that? If we decrease the number of repetitions, we increase the number of sets. So we do 4 sets times 13. It's 52 repetitions. We increase the volume, and also we increase the intensity. And you would do basically the same from intensification to intensification, and we increase 2% here to up to 74%. And that from accumulation to intensification, it's 3 to go to 70, and then 4 to go to 74. That's 7%, and that's the reason why in this macrocycle specifically we had to avoid, and we have to make an exception to the rule, because here we do not have 8%. But as I said before, it's due to the fact that it's a new person, and you do not want to overload that person in the beginning. So that's why it's 74% here. Okay, that's the reason why the rule, we make an exception to the rule in here. And that being said, from intensification to intensification, you have to decrease the total volume but increase the intensity. So what we do here is that we have 8 to 10 repetitions, that equals 74%, times 3, the number of sets, gives us 30 repetitions total, which is a lower volume and a higher intensity. And the average, total average of intensity in this macrocycle will be 69.5, and that's due to the fact that here is 7% and here is 7% and not 8%. And that was already explained, the reasons why we did an exception here specifically. So if we took accumulation 1 as the base of macrocycle 1, you take that accumulation and you can increase that by 2 to 8%, and we do increase by 5% here, increase 5%, which represents 2 repetitions. So we will go accumulation number 3 up to 70% of intensity. That's from 10 to 12 repetitions times 3 sets, gives us a total of 36 repetitions in the total volume. Then we increase 8%. Now we can increase the 8% here. That's 78%, and we remember that's from 6 to 8 repetitions times 3 sets, gives us 24. We need to increase the volume from accumulation to accumulation, so we increase also by 2% the intensity. That would be 72%. To increase the volume, we increase the number of sets, 4 times 11. That gives us total amount of 44 repetitions, which is higher volume than accumulation 3. And from intensification 3 to intensification 4, we increase 2%, basically, and this is 8% from accumulation to intensification. We go exactly by the rules. We need to decrease the number of repetitions, the volume from intensification to intensification. That's why we do 3 times 7, because 80% is from 5 to 7 repetitions times 3 sets, gives us 21. It's a lower number of volume of total reps. And the percentage for macrocycle number 2 is 5%. It's 75%, I'm sorry. We increase it 5, and the total would be 75%. We are increasing the intensity from macrocycle to macrocycle. And then, because this is an undulating method, we have to decrease the intensity here in order to not overtrain the athlete and not go to the top very fast, because that would be in a linear progression, and we do not want to go to the top so fast. What we do here is that from accumulation on the base to accumulation on the base, we can lower that from 2 to 8%. We lower this by 3%, giving us 67 repetitions. And why is that? Because we already said that 1 repetition difference is from 2 to 3%. So here we have 12 repetitions, and we have here have 13 repetitions. That's why it's only 3% difference here. So the rep range for 67 repetitions will be from 11 to 13 repetitions. We need to increase the volume now. That would be the third macrocycle of the year, so we need to be increasing the volume. That's why we started here with 4 sets times 13. We already know that is 52. Then we increase that by 9%, because we can do it from 8 to 15. We increase 9% to get to 76%, because we have already been into 70, 72, 74. Now we go up to 76%. And we know that the range of repetitions for 76% is 7 to 9 repetitions. We do 4 sets of 7 to 9 repetitions. That gives us a total amount of 36 repetitions. 4 times 9 is 36. Then we increase the intensity from accumulation to accumulation. We increase it 3%, so that's 70%. We already know 70% is 10 to 12. We need to increase the volume. How we do that? Increasing the number of sets. 5 times 12 is 60. So we increase the volume here. Now we need to increase the intensity from intensification 5 to intensification 6. We increase that by 2%, which is 8% from accumulation to accumulation. Okay, and we already know that the ranges are from 6 to 8 repetitions. We said that we have to decrease the volume, but since we decrease the number of repetitions, we can leave the same amount of sets, and that would give us 32 repetitions. And we are going good with the rule, which states that we have to lower the volume and increase the intensity. And the whole average intensity for macrocycle number 3 would be 72.5%. Okay, we are already in the range of the desired goal. And from macrocycle 3 to macrocycle 4, we can increase, as we said, from accumulation to accumulation, from 2 to 8%, and here we increased 9%, and that's due. This is another exception, and that's due because this is the last macrocycle of the year, and we really want to increase the intensity, so he finishes strong and he would be within the ranges. That's why I made certain exceptions, but I know why I'm doing it now. I know the rules and regulations, but here we had to make an exception, and that's because of what I said. That's why in this one we increased 9%. Okay, you can see it that way here, or you can see it from accumulation 6 to accumulation 7. We increased that by 6%, which is completely fine. Okay, so if we see it from the base, or we see it from accumulation to accumulation, we are perfectly in a range of percentages. So accumulation 7, it's 76%. That would be 7 to 9 repetitions. That gives us a total amount of 5 sets. Well, does not give us a total amount of 5 sets. We put 5 sets because we need to increase the volume here, and that gives us a total amount of 45 repetitions. Then we go from accumulation 7 to intensification 7, and we increase that by 9% to go to 85%. And we remember that's 3 to 5 repetition times 5. This would be 25 repetitions. We're decreasing the volume. We keep on that rule that you decrease volume, increase intensity from accumulation to intensification, basically. Okay, And from accumulation 7 to accumulation 8, we increased that by 2%. It's 6 to 8 repetitions, and we need to increase the volume. So we do here 6 sets. 6 times 8 is 48. And we increase, you can increase from 8 to 15 from accumulation to intensification. So we increase that 10% to go to 88%, because after 85% going up, you only have 88%. That's why you need to go to the ranges that are already established. That's why there are certain exceptions here. Okay, so this is 88%, it's 2 to 4 repetitions. We need to decrease volume, increase intensity. We already increased the intensity. 5 times 4, it's 20. We decreased the total amount of repetitions in intensification to intensification. And this would give us an average of 81.5% for the whole macrocycle. Now, if we sum all of these averages and divide them by 4, we will have the total average for the whole year. And what is that? Ta-da! 74.68%. That means we achieved the desired goal, the hypertrophy. And since this is so young athlete, we can plan ahead up to 4 years, taking into consideration, or basically making every year a macrocycle. So we would have macrocycle 1 would be this year that we already developed, and that started at 4.68%. We can increase that by 4. That gives us a total of 78. I did not take the decimals into account. So we have here 78% plus 4. That would be macrocycle 2. That means year number 2. Then you reduce that by 2%. And that gives us a total amount of 76%. Okay, for year number 3. And when he would be 22, that last year, we increased that also 4%. Okay. And we increased that 4%, giving us 80%, basically the average for the whole macrocycle 4. If you take that Olympic macrocycle, because basically Olympics are 4 years, and I already read that term, and this can be called Olympic macrocycle. If you take it that as macrocycle 1, you take the average would be 77.17%. Again, we are in the desired goal. Then we take that macrocycle, and we can go up to another 4-year macrocycle, going to absolute strength, and that he would be 28 at the time we finish that, and he would finish at 83% because we increased that by 6. Okay, because it's from 2 to 8, and we increased that by 6. That would give us a total amount of 83% of intensity, and that's in the range of absolute strength. We need to decrease the intensity so we do not overload the athlete. And then he would be 32. At the age of 32, the total average would be 80%, because we did here minus 3%, 83 to 80. We're still in the range of absolute strength. Okay, that's when he's 32. Then we take another 4 years, another Olympic cycle, 4 years, and he would be 36. At the age of 36, he would be at 88%, because we increased that 8% intensity. So he would be in the range of relative strength at that moment, and he will be very strong, and he will be finishing his career hopefully very, very strong, limiting the risk of injuries and going down in performance. That's why I saw it in this way, increasing the intensity. And if we take whole 16 years, the average, that would gives us 82.4%. We still in the absolute strength range. If we do another 16 years and we sum that, we add 6%, he will end up basically at 70, with 88% on our relative strength. And basically, that now it becomes funny, as you said in the video, but I think that finishing his career at 88% would be very beneficial for the athlete, reducing the risk of injury and reducing the risk of lowering in performance. You do not want to close your last season of a competitive life injured or in a decrease of performance. So basically, this was assignment number 3. I hope it was enjoyable. It was understandable. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Thank you.